guys, thank you so much for joining me in another video. So as you can tell, based on the title, today we are talking about the personal style. We are deconstructing the personal style of Sade. If you're not familiar with the name, maybe it doesn't ring a bell, like the music definitely will. I would play it for you, but obviously I can't. Definitely worthwhile to listen to her music because I think her music is something that is a representation of her style. She had such a unique, calming, relaxing, smooth voice. Her music was sort of this beautiful combination of soul, jazz, R&B, and sort of like minimalist pop. It's very interesting to see how her music is just a mirror of her style. And just a little bit about her. Sade Adu was born in Nigeria, but then moved to Essex, England when she was 4. She studied at St. Martin's School of Art in London. That's where she studied fashion, and she was a part of a group called Pride in the early 1980s. And the success of the song Smooth Operator really propelled her to be one of the most successful female British artists. So definitely check out her music, but today we're going to talk about and focus on her style, how she sort of had this really cool, elegant, minimalist approach. Let's think about this, guys. This is the 1980s. This was the era of extreme, maximal, opulent fashion, big, bold shoulders, bright colors, big jewelry. So it's very interesting to see someone have a more minimal approach to fashion, but it's still very 80s at the same time. And what's very interesting to me is while we think minimalism as very much something that existed in the 90s, that really boomed in the 90s, like 90s minimalism. Minimalism of the 90s was very epic, but there were these sort of like bouts of minimalism in the 1980s that were kind of emerging. I feel like that could be an interesting video. Sounds like a contradiction, but there were grumblings that would explode in the 90s that I think would be very interesting to explore. But anyways, let's talk about Sade's core style elements. Normally what these videos heavily focus on, it's the articles of clothing, and we're going to focus on that. But one thing that was so definitional about her style was her signature hair and makeup. So these are kind of the first points I really want to make. So this is a quote: "The ubiquitous winter uniform of New York's coolest girl. Sleek turtleneck, gold hoops, high-waisted trousers, red pout didn't just emerge in a vacuum. No, it was the smooth operator singer's onstage uniform in the early 1980s. Her signature look was this bold red lip, hair in a ponytail or was braided, and obviously she was so beautiful. She rocked it so effortlessly. No wonder so many girls wanted to look like her." The next point I want to talk about is this aspect of 80s glamour. Here's this image of her performing in the Netherlands in 1984. And yes, the 80s was like this ultimate opulent era. When we look at this silhouette, right, just this polka dot shirt, the way the cut of the shirt is, it's very 1980s. High-waisted belt, cinched in, it's like a very chunky belt. And then we've got those biker gloves. It's not over the top, it's actually quite simple. This is a very easy outfit to replicate. It says everything that needs to be said. I think this is something that embodies that classic 1980s elegance. It's not too over the top though, and that's why it's personal style, right? Not everyone has to look the same, and that's the beauty of personal style. So this next look here is something very casual, but still clean at the same time. So obviously this is a Canadian tuxedo look. Obviously I'm wearing my denim as an ode to this look here. Honestly, the Canadian tuxedo never looks so good. Here she is wearing Levi's. Light on the makeup here, right? You can see the complexion of her skin come through here. She was obviously someone that was a very natural beauty. Yes, she is still wearing a little bit of makeup. It just goes with the vibe of just a denim on denim look here. But what makes it feel very 1980s, but also signature her, is the big hoops and then that big gold cuff. That to me makes it feel it's from the 1980s. When we compare this look to say like a Carolyn Bessette Kennedy, she was someone that like almost like never wore jewelry, barely there kind of jewelry, but here we have very bold statement pieces. It really balances this casual outfit out. The next point I want to talk about here is negative space and silhouettes. So I think we've been seeing these crazy cutout trends, almost these kind of like naked see-through dresses that frankly my mom bod could never. Fashion has evolved to these very complex cutouts. I think there's just something nice, simple about having a cutout in your back. Back is a very beautiful part of the body with this high-waisted pant, this white turtleneck. She was originally wearing this bolero top and it was fine. I don't think it looked bad, but I think this contrast here, and then you've got her exposed back. It's just sexy in this like understated way. And then again, you've got her signature red lip, her signature hair, her signature makeup, her hoops, other outfits that she wore. Here here she's wearing an off-the-shoulder outfit. Again, chunky belt cinching in the waist. Definitely something that was very popular at the time. Another outfit, she's got the black gloves, bold jewelry. My next point here, bold signature jewelry. When you contrast that with a backless outfit or just something that is a little bit more form-fitting, again, very 1980s, but she was able to make it very like clean and smooth. It just creates like a very nice visual balance. The next point I want to talk about is her very monochromatic looks. Whether it be a Canadian tuxedo, it's the simplicity of monochromatic looks, or an all-white look, a white shirt or white turtleneck and a white pair of pants. It's just so like clean and minimal. You could take this exact outfit, wear it in the 90s and feel really chic. So yeah, maybe she was just really before her time. Now let's talk about footwear for a second. She was someone that wore ballet flats heavily. This silhouette here, just with these white capri pants and these ballet flats, like it's very Audrey Hepburn-esque, the way like Audrey Hepburn would wear sort of like ballet shoes and then capri pants, black turtleneck. That was also like a style that was very popular, this beat generation that was going on. It's just super timeless. One combination that is just so 1980s to me is just these big, bold shoulder pads. And in this outfit, she's wearing this bright red and it just balances beautifully with her bold red lip and her red nails. It's just coordinated so perfectly. It just has this very calm demeanor about her. Just watching her in interviews, she sounds like her music. It's just very cool and relaxing, just very chill, soothing. Her music is really a reflection of her personality and her style. It's all integrated. And the final point I want to talk about is comfort. And she kind of, in this article I found here, really talks about the importance of comfort and simplicity. So she says this: simplicity is key, looking subtle without looking dull. 3 years at art school proved what I'd always believed, that you can't look different just by looking outrageous. None of it seems very extreme anymore anyway. And I think she looked so different back in the 1980s. And then she talks about in the article, she likes cashmere, not for any snob value, but because it doesn't make me itch. She loves suede, her red tab Levi's, things must be well cut, simple straight lines that look classic without being retrospective. So it's almost this view of simplicity and sort of this modernist aspect. And then she says this about sexuality, which I think is very interesting. I don't think an exposed breast is any more sexy than an exposed ankle or shoulder blade. It's down to the individual and the way you carry yourself. And while a lot of her looks were from the 1980s, when you look at her in the 90s, you look at her like recent images, the core of her aesthetic is still there. And it's something that can transform with each decade because her style is so personal to her. What's very interesting to me is we kind of saw an 80s pop vision of what a more minimal aesthetic could be. This isn't as minimal as what we'd see later in the 90s. Like there's some images, you know, with the polka dot shirt and the kind of like leather gloves, feel very 1980s, but the core, the essence, the whole philosophy behind her style, the monochromatic looks, the denim on denim, the signature hoops, the subtle sexiness, which could be a shoulder blade or an ankle or whatever part of her body she wants to choose to expose or hide. Her philosophy and sort of the principles of her style are things that can be replicated decade after decade after decade. To me, what is most interesting is how much before her time she was. Sure, we can say there are references to maybe like an early Audrey Hepburn or the beatniks of the 60s. There's almost something like anti-fashion fashion about how she dressed because she had a strong sense of personal style. So yes, that is my video. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'd love to know, is there a favorite look you have? Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.